Hey everybody, Tony D. Little Jones just off camera, eating something. I hope it's something good. What are you eating? Are you eating a bone? I hope that's a bone and not something you found. All right. Anyhow, first up, I've done a BitChute exclusive that I must insist you see. I'll call it a BitChute Rumble exclusive. I can't do that one on YouTube because it's about the Time magazine article, which is about the election, and I can't really say what I need to say here on YouTube. So I said it there, and I have to insist you go see that one. So if you're going to see any video off the YouTube platform of mine, see that one. Plus, I curse a lot, so if you like that. So if you're watching it at work, turn the volume down. It's pretty infuriating. But this one will be no less infuriating. A pundit on MSNBC called for the drone striking of Trump supporters. Let me say that again, because you may have just went, "What? That's not what he said. That didn't happen." No, it actually did. One of the MSNBC pundits, I forget which one, a woman, called for the drone striking of basically Trump supporters. Basically. I mean, she basically ties it into the Capitol Hill riots, calls everybody a terrorist, and that, why aren't we using this wonderful thing called the drone strike? And she ties it into the Bush administration without ever mentioning that it was actually Barack Obama who set the precedent that you could drone strike an American, because he did it to a Yemeni national who was an American citizen who went back to Yemen. He was drone striked. He was Al-Qaeda's publicist, let's say. He didn't actually commit any acts of terror, but he did make videos and publish their magazine or whatever. Not that he deserved to be drone striked, and that was never proven in a court of law, because there was no court of law, because Obama just did it. And then 2 weeks later, his son and his cousin were out camping, and they drone striked the son. I think the cousin was killed too. And he was 16. And I assume he was an American citizen as well, who had moved back to Yemen. So that's two people assassinated without any court oversight whatsoever. And now MSNBC thinks it's a good idea that Biden maybe start drone striking parts of the Midwest and murdering people, even though drone strikes, someone cited a statistic, I forget who, 90% of the time hit the wrong people. It's because the Obama drone war was so broad. Any male of I believe 16 years and older, anyone who looked military age was considered a valid target. And they drone striked a ton of people. In fact, his first drone strike happened 4 days into office. And it wasn't in Yemen, and it wasn't in Iraq, it wasn't in Afghanistan. It was in Pakistan, a country who we're aligned with, a country with nuclear weapons. And the drone bombed an apartment building, which supposedly contained a bunch of militants that the Pentagon told Obama that they needed to kill. They weren't there. It killed a bunch of old people, some women, and their children. And the Pentagon reported it as, oh no, this was a valid drone strike, it was militants. But then later, someone actually did journalism and found out that no, he had murdered a bunch of innocent people in a foreign country that we're supposedly aligned with in the war on terror 4 days into his office. I know you must have all read about it because it was probably front page of the New York Times. Oh, wait, it wasn't. It was buried on page 9, and the New York Times seemed to take, the word of the Pentagon at that time. Wasn't only until many moons later that they revealed, and in fact, he killed a bunch of innocent people on his first drone strike. Didn't stop him from doing a bunch more. And in fact, I contend that's how the Pentagon compromised Obama and got him onto this drone war thing in the first place. I mean, once he killed a bunch of people and they kind of covered it up or made it politically palatable so people didn't really think about it, it was pretty easy to just keep drone bombing everybody. Joan's very upset about the drones. So this idiot at MSNBC thinks that's a good idea to bring to America. That you may be going to the store one day, and you may hear a whistling sound, and then kaboomo! Apartment building explodes, and everybody in it dies. Trump supporter. Sorry, everybody. Someone who was maybe at the Capitol thing, and we don't like them, and we don't have time for a pesky court trial or anything. We're just going to murder them. That's exactly what MSNBC is now suggesting. It's suggesting to murder people. MSNBC needs to be defunded, in my view. Certainly this anchor needs to be fired. That is incitement. That is wrong. I think it's probably illegal. Not that anybody will prosecute her for it. To go on a television station and say openly, maybe we ought to just kill these people, is pretty spicy when you're censoring anybody who maybe has a slight different opinion about women's sports and the role of transgender people in them. Oh, those people, wow, they're monsters. They must be censored. But if you're suggesting to drone strike Trump supporters, well, this is where we're at. So if you're buying any products of the sponsors of MSNBC, I guess you'd be supporting drone strikes on possibly yourself and people you know. Certainly your fellow citizens in the United States. Sadly, or smartly, I don't know which you would call it, back in the day, during the Obama era, and I was doing the anti-war comic then, I did several strips about how drone strikes were coming to America. I predicted that they would start with actual criminals, like drug kingpins, maybe guys who were south of the border, or guys who were clearly had a long criminal record. See, that's how they could warm people up to the idea of drone striking within the United States. They'd pick some really horrible people and kaboom! And maybe the first couple of drone strikes, they'd make sure no one else was around, that only bad people died. And of course, they'd control the press around it too. So if anybody else died, you certainly wouldn't hear about it. Oh, but they skipped that step. They went right to, maybe we should just kill our political rivals. Maybe we should just murder them, blow them up. I mean, the kids are only going to grow up the same way, right? Murder the whole family. I mean, because drones are incredibly inaccurate, despite what you might think. I mean, they can see a license plate from up in the sky. They can shoot their missiles from so far away, you don't hear it coming until it's too late. And they can put that missile right through a window, But does it really matter if it's the wrong window or if it's the window of a house where several people live? You know, you can drone strike a guy's house and he might leave right before the drone hits. Or his whole family might come in just as he's opening the door. Kaboomo. Those of you who are around back then probably remember the many, many weddings that got drone bombed in Afghanistan. And I mean many. It was like every other week, another wedding, 11 people dead, dozens dead. This was a regular occurrence under the Obama administration. Weddings. And this is Afghanistan, a third world country. These people don't have much to look forward to except weddings. Weddings, huge part of the culture. Huge. It's basically the one excuse they had to do anything happy. And the United States frequently bombed them. And they would say, oh, it was a big mistake. We're so sorry. We're going to pay out some money. And that was it. Hardly any outrage from the leftists in this country. Hardly. When Obama was doing it. When Bush did it, he did a little bit of it. Drones were relatively new under him, developed under him, launched under him towards the end. But Obama relied on the drones. So it was much more under Obama. But oddly enough, the media didn't seem to cover it as much. Didn't seem all that interested in what Barack Obama did with flying deadly robots. But now, the MSNBC people would like to see that come back. Perhaps it's time, if you have a cable box, that you wrote your local cable company, MSNBC. You can Google the clip. I'm sure it's still on YouTube somewhere. And, watch it and then let MSNBC politely understand that you'll never watch them again, that you are boycotting their sponsors, and that you think the anchor in question should be fired immediately. That's what I would do. That's what I will do. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm merely making a suggestion based on my own personal opinion. But I think if enough people shared my opinion or some version of it, MSNBC could potentially hurt for money. And when these companies hurt for money, they tend to make changes. Just a thought.